Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me for today's webinar on Floorplans 101. I'm Stephanie, the Customer Success Manager for Floorplans by Tripleseat. I have many years of experience in the event industry, and I know how important diagramming tools are to your success. Today, I will show you how to get started with Floorplans through your integration. As a note, microphones will be muted for the duration of the call, but we would love to answer your questions. My teammates are here to answer any questions as we go along. On your end, you should see a Q&A section, and you can type your questions in there. I will send a copy of this webinar after today's call so you can reference it at a later date or share it with any of your staff. Now I'm going to turn my camera off and share a quick outline with you and what is being covered on today's call. During the training today, I will show you how to create your event and layouts on Tripleseat floor plans, use our tools to build out your unique layouts, save and export into your Tripleseat account, share and export, and lastly, managing your venue settings. All right, let's dive in. Once your integration has been set up, you will be able to access floor plans at the event level here inside Tripleseat. If you need assistance with setting up your integration, please reach out directly to support via the Help question button in the top right-hand corner of your screen. Next, how to find floor plans through Tripleseat. You'll navigate to an existing event where you will then see the Tripleseat floor plans button on the right-hand side of your screen. Best practice is going to be to create your event through this link. When you click Create a Floor Plan, you'll click Create New Event. This will open up a new window inside Floor Plans by Tripleseat. Now that we are successfully inside Floor Plans itself, you will note that creating a new event with the link we just did will automatically pull in the name, the date, and the guest total from your Tripleseat event and have it directly inside floor plans ready to go in this event. So making sure that you guys know exactly where that information lands. And now that we're inside floor plans here, and of course we're in the correct event for today's training, you can now go to next step will be view your space in the upper right-hand corner. This will take you into design mode. You will then need to select the room you're working in. Today, our event is in banquet hall, so I will select that room here. This screen will now ask you where you would like to start. Now we offer, of course, both 2D and 3D with every single subscription. But for today's training, we're going to start with the basics of 2D. Once I select 2D, it will begin to load in, but one quick thing I would like to note is that if you always plan to start in one or the other, there's an option to remember my choice down here at the bottom of the screen. This will allow you to automatically open your events in either 2D or 3D and kind of bypass this question when you know you already need to get into one or the other. I'm going to go ahead and click on 2D floor plan. As this loads, our screen here will give you some tips and tricks as you use the platform, but it'll also mention to do not click away. If you click away as it loads, it will actually pause the load time, and typically this doesn't take super long, so let it do its thing here. And you'll notice we're in the room pretty quickly here. The first load time is always the longest, so once you're inside the space, we're going to go over some general navigation here. In the upper right-hand corner, there's a switch to 3D at any time. Because I started in 2D mode, this button will appear and allow you to switch to that 3D design mode whenever you're ready or at a later time. Next to that is a layers tool. When you click into this layers tool, you're going to be able to toggle these things on or off while you're working. Now, if it's important to see things like table numbers or size and guests or even seat numbers, of course, leave that box checked off. If you do not need to see these things, you can uncheck them. I always have this as my preset. And another question I get pretty often is how do I turn off venue markers, which are going to be your dimensions here around the space? You can toggle those off easily. Yes, they are important, but sometimes you don't need to see them. Once you have set your settings, these are going to be something you can save. That way, every time you load in, they are the same. In the bottom right-hand corner, we have some arrows here for navigation. These are going to allow you to move the screen around, as well as a zoom in and out option. You'll also notice on today's training that I will do that because you can do that as well with just a scroll of your mouse. There's another camera here on the right-hand side for take a screenshot. This works in 2D, 3D, and top-down mode. So always handy to take a quick screenshot when needed. This will go straight to your downloads. Now we're going to go over to the left-hand side of the screen and we're going to start in the Floor Plans tab here. On the left-hand side, you'll notice a hand is already prompting us to get started in tables and bars. When you click into tables and bars, this is where you'll be able to configure the tables that you wish to use in your layouts. Now, we pre-populate a 60-inch round and a 72-inch rectangle on every user account. Keep in mind, these tables here can also live as presets, which we're going to get into in a moment. If any tables automatically appear on your page, feel free to click on them and delete them as you go. The reason I recommend my venues to, on their initial build out, to delete those is so you can build out the tables that you actually need to use. By clicking on Add Table here at the top of the screen, we're going to build out our very first table. Now, you'll notice a window will pop open that allows you to choose the table type. This is important. Guest tables are what we're going to focus on today, but if you need things like a highboy or a satellite bar, buffet table, or DJ table, these are all options. In 2D mode, they all have their own corresponding icon, meaning that your DJ table will show a little music note. Makes it a little bit easier to find on your 2D floor plan. In 3D mode, these all have different functionalities, so again, I cannot stress the importance here. We will stick to guest table at the top of the screen for today. I'm going to go ahead and click next at the bottom to continue configuring. The very first thing at the top here will be selecting the shape. I'm going to go ahead and stick to round, but I will also demonstrate a rectangle next. Sticking to round will allow me to choose items here. So you're going to notice these 3D icons that you see. These go hand in hand with any items you may have tagged as venue provided. You'll see that note here at the top. If you have multiple options, you can click to change the item. So if I have multiple chairs to choose from, I can choose those here. If I do not have any items tagged quite yet, keep in mind that we do have a default white ballroom chair that will always appear here. So once you tag your venue provided items, those populate. And let's say you need a rental item. You can also browse the catalog for rental items at any time. I'm going to stick to the chair we already had. I wanted to just make note of that. And as we move down the list here, the next portion in a round setup would be, of course, seating to be all the way around the table or crescent style. Once you've selected that, next choice is size. Now, since we have a standard folding table here as our option, the size drop-down menu will populate. If you've tagged it as a venue provided item, those sizes will automatically filter to the top of this list. Once you've selected that, last, you'll be able to select your number of guests. You successfully built your first table. Another new feature that we have is color coding your tables. This feature here will give your setup team an easy at-glance visual aid so you can distinguish easily the different types of tables, sizes, etc. Once you click on this button here, it's going to allow you to assign a color to this 60-inch round. Maybe I would like all of these to be green. So once I select green, you're going to see that here at the top of your tables tool, and then any of these 60-inch rounds that I put on my floor plan here will appear in that color. I can now click Add to Space, and I can drop this table into place anywhere that I need. I can continue to drag and drop as many tables as needed, one at a time. That is one way to get tables onto your floor plan. We have many ways, so bear with me here, but that would be one use case. You can also come into your floor plan and just select a table. By selecting a table, you'll notice here that I've selected table 1, and a menu will appear down here at the bottom, which we'll cover on today's call. You can also click and drag and multi-select items, or tables in this case, and when you do so, we have a feature at the bottom that is called alignment. You'll notice that this menu is slightly different whenever it's multi-selected, multiple items. Alignment, you can click into, and this will easily allow me to align my items to a nice, neat row. If this was a vertical row, I would use these vertical buttons. This is a horizontal row, so I'm going to go ahead and use these horizontal buttons. If I want to align them, let's say to middle align all of these, I can click it once and you're going to see those tables shift into place. We also allow you to space them evenly. So if I want to distribute these objects, you can tell in between each table is slightly off. If I just want to space them evenly, I can click this button one time. You saw another quick little shift in there, and now they're spaced out perfectly. If you need to have a specific distance there, you can go into that as well. We allow for you to type in, let's say, 4 feet and click the button again, and you see those shift into place one more time. So you can get pretty specific here in this tool. This tool is also great, like I said, to create a nice, neat row, but you can also copy this nice, neat row. There's no need to make it again. So the copy button down here at the bottom will allow you to copy and paste as needed. Feel free to also select by clicking and dragging one or multiple items, and you can use keyboard shortcuts for Control C, Control V, easy copy paste options. So drag and drop, as well as aligning and copying are some ways that you can, of course, get these tables into your floor plan rather quickly. I am going to show you next how to get your tables onto your floor plan even faster. First, I will click and drag, and I'm going to go ahead and select all of these tables and hit the trash can icon at the bottom menu. This will allow me to delete these. Now, how I'm going to get all the tables on the floor plan at once. The table you've built here inside the Tables tool, you can click on and go into our feature called Area Layout. When I click on Area Layout, you will notice some preset patterns of tables here. You can choose whichever you'd like and choose the distance you'd like between those tables. Maybe I want 3 feet horizontal and vertical. Once I've typed that information in, I can start my lasso. You'll notice my cursor has slightly changed, and now I can click and drag this blue box anywhere that I would like a table to fill the space. When I let go, it has now added those tables into the floor plan for me. So one fell swoop there. That lives in Area Layout. The other thing I like to mention, I already said keyboard shortcuts exist. So Control C, Control V. You can also select items and nudge them with our arrow keys. So feel free to do that as well. If you ever just need to get something a little bit more into place, you can use those arrow keys there. All right, the next thing I want to go ahead and do is I'm going to build out a rectangle table. I mentioned we would cover both on today's training. So I'm going to go back here to the Tables tool. I'm going to add a table. I'm going to keep it a guest table and click Next. And the reason I like to show both options here, I'm going to select that new shape, is because the main difference, besides the obvious shape of the table, is going to be that you can now change that chair placement, which we're going to get to in a moment. The build out is the same. You can choose these items. You can choose your table size. Kind of whatever you need to here is the same as we just walked through with rounds. But the chair placement is important. So you're going to notice that we have all of these chairs around the sides here based on our 8 guests. But if you need them in different spots, you can easily adjust that with these arrows to the left and to the right, which allow the chairs to kind of shuffle into place wherever you need them. If you need one-sided tables, that's always something that people will use with head tables or classroom style. You will just need to select that lower number of guests and then one left click. So one click over here to the left will get everybody on that same side. So that makes it a little bit easier. Again, feel free to add a color here to your table if that's necessary, or you can simply click Add to Space and you can continue the same way we just did with adding tables one at a time, alignment, etc. Now, one thing that I mention always with rectangles is something I like to use, which I'm going to go ahead and select these tables by clicking and dragging. I have 3 of these on my floor plan, but maybe I want them really close together. Now, I could nudge them or drag them individually, but if I just select them and go back to that alignment feature, I can make sure that they are all aligned. And I can type in 0 as a quick little tip for you guys. Once you hit 0 and click the button again, it will automatically put those tables together for you. Another thing worth noting that will apply to rectangles and other shapes besides round is that you can rotate them. So if I need to rotate this group to face a different direction, I can do so and add that here. Okay. The next thing I want to go into are going to be something called table presets. I briefly mentioned this before, but if you use the same tables in a lot of your floor plans, what I want you to do is actually click on the table you've built and check mark this little box here. Once you have this saved as a preset, that means you never have to build this table again. This 60-inch round with 8 guests will always live on my account. This is at the user level, so you can each build out unique tables that you'll be using in your layouts, but it's definitely kind of step 1 to templates, which we'll get to here in a bit. All right, my most commonly asked question. I've built out this 8 top, but what if I need to change the guest totals at my tables? Let me zoom in here for you guys so you can see these a little bit closer. This table here was originally built as an 8 top. If I click on it and I want to edit this table, I can. Maybe I want them to all be 10 tops. When I click on this, you'll notice in the background, they all change to those 10 tops. And that's great if that's what I intended to do. But my most asked question, what if table 6 only needs 8 guests? You'll notice I also accidentally moved that. Perfect segue to show you guys the undo redo button. Once I select this table here, we have the option at the bottom menu that appears for resizing. This little arrow here allows you to click into resize and change that table size if needed, but most commonly, number of guests. So here, if this only needs to have 6 guests at table 6, great, I can adjust that at the individual level with our resize tool. Not only is that allowing you to customize the tables you've already laid out a little bit faster and easier, but it's eliminating the need for you to build out the other table sizes. You don't need to create a 10 top, a 9 top, an 8 top, and have all of those tables living in the tool if they're not common, sizes and configurations. So definitely utilize the resize button. I'm going to repeat myself here as this is an important one. Next to that is an add label feature, another important option where you can click and add an actual label. Maybe table 6 here is a VIP table where you can add that quick little label. This is also ideal when people have, let's say, buffets and you want to notate appetizers or coffee. It's always something that will go along with the table anywhere you drag it as well. I'll do another quick undo. The next thing I want to mention about our add label tool is that if it is a guest table like we're working with today, you're going to notice the table number at the top of this feature. This allows for a quick little one-off change. Let's say 1 and 6 are in the wrong spot, and I just want to change that here. It's going to tell me that that table already exists, but that's okay. It's just going to flip-flop it for me. Now, this is a great feature if I'm just doing, 1 or 2. If you need to renumber every single table that is on your floor plan, I do not recommend doing it one at a time here. We have a feature for that. You can always go into seating on the left-hand side of the screen, hop into the tables section, and here you'll see a list view of all the tables that are here on your layout. Now, of course, you can still type in numbers here, or the fastest and easiest in my recommendation is going to be the click to number option at the very bottom. When you hit click to number, it automatically locks your tables in place. And now you can go in and do exactly as it states. You can click to number in the order that you would actually want to see those numbers. So I'm going to do these here. And once I'm done, I can hit the stop numbering at the bottom of the screen. What's really great too is that you can scroll through this list and still see those table options. For tables 1, 2, and 3, maybe I actually need this to be head table 1. So you can notate alphanumerical up to 3 characters here in that slot. So just worth noting, something you can do by renumbering in bulk lives in seating and tables. All right, we're going to X out of that here. We're going to scroll on the side here and just get to the other side of the room where we have some empty space. And next, we're going to go ahead and build out some chair sets. On the left, underneath floor plan, you can go into the chairs tool when you'll click add chairs here at the top of the screen. Keep in mind, chairs and tables chairs like tables can also be saved as presets. If this 60-person setup is something you'll use in the future, you can click on it and save it as a preset to your account like I have here. To add a fresh set of chairs, you can simply click Add Chairs at the top of the screen and select a template here. Once I've selected a template, I can go ahead and click Next. If I need an aisle, that's an option, as well as a guest total, but this is just approximate for now. Once I click the Next button, Micro Tools will appear. This is where it is really important to go in and adjust the number of rows, maybe less chairs, the distance between everything, as well as an aisle width if you have one. Keep in mind, we also pull the dimensions from whatever chair you're using, so it is very important to choose the correct chair that will be used for this, let's say, ceremony setup. Next, I'm going to go ahead and click Save and Close. Don't worry, you can always come back and edit this if needed. But once I hit Save and Close and I now have this seating arrangement, I can drag and drop it into my floor plan anywhere that I need it. If selected, it will turn blue, and a menu appears at the bottom of your screen for these chairs as well. You can do things like copy. You can rotate them if they need to face a different direction. Locking in place comes in handy for large items like a chair set or a stage. That way you don't accidentally move anything. And then we have another feature called remove chairs. Let's say I have this chair set somewhere over here and I actually want to, let me pull it down a little, and I want to get rid of these couple chairs because there's a column in the way. I can do that with this remove chairs tool. When I click on remove chairs, I can remove individual chairs to allow, of course, for the column, or let's say a wheelchair is a good example. Once I click start, I can then either click one at a time or I can click and drag to multi-select and then make sure I just uncheck this box. Once I do that, I can hit save and close, and this tells my setup team not to put chairs in that spot. And it also makes sure that the count is correct at the top of the screen. We do have a guest counter here constantly letting you know what lives inside your floor plan. So definitely pay attention to these numbers. Okay, zooming out here. Next, we're going to go into the floor plans tab where I'm going to call out things like pipe and drape, stages, chandeliers, add items which have other subcategories, and things of entertainment, which will house, stages and, which will house dance floors, as well as podiums, etc. Furniture will have other furniture items, and these are all pretty easy drag and drop options. So remember, if you own it, to tag it as a venue provided item, which we'll get to on this video. But here, we're going to go ahead and just drag and drop. Once you drag and drop these into the space, you can do what you need to with them, select them, maybe we're going to rotate them, etc. But very easy drag and drop when it comes to these items. If you need assistance with any of these other features and tools, please feel free to use the Help Center. Next, I'm going to go into our toolbox. This toolbox here on the right or left-hand side, will allow you to click into tools and use kind of general tools. Adding note being probably the most important one. When I select Add Note, a text box will appear in the center of your screen. You can drag this anywhere that you need and type in whatever notes that you'd like. Once you've added this note, you can use the bottom menu to, let's say, make it a different color. You can copy it if needed, rotate, change the text and font size, etc. So that's super duper easy. One thing I just like to mention as a tip would be if you needed to make a note about your table colors. This is where that color coding system kind of comes in handy, that these colors all match the options for your table colors. So that's something really easy. Maybe the green tables are all rentals or something in this, instance. So definitely an option when it comes to notes. Make sure you're using them as a tip with your table colors. The next tool in the toolbox is a tape measure, which you can click into and a tape measure will appear. This is just going to be this blue line that I can drag anywhere I'd like. I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see it a little better. I can drag these little blue dots on the end to then allow me to measure. Maybe I need to make sure I left at least 15 feet between the ceremony chairs here and the head table we're pretending. So I measured, and this is to scale with your floor plan, of course. So I have plenty of room. You can also go in and edit your ruler. If you want it to say 15 feet, that's fine too. And then it'll show you that distance. You can have multiple rulers if needed. You can also draw with general shapes. And something else I recommend is this 6-foot grid. When you toggle this on, it's going to show you a 6-foot distance in your space. This allows you to kind of get the lay of the land. This is also going to come in handy for templates, which we're about to get into. Okay, so templates are going to be floor plans that are commonly used. So let's say in this scenario, either a wedding or a company holiday party or, classroom style are typical setups for you. And you don't want to have to recreate that each and every time you log in. Well, that's totally fine. We have a feature for that. It's called templates. So you can have templates within your rooms, but they do work one-to-one within the room you're working in. So if you save a template inside banquet hall, you will be only able to load that template into the room named banquet hall. So just a quick tip there. How do I create a template? Well, I'm going to show you. We have this floor plan that we're working on now. If I go into this upper left corner where it says version 1, this is where I can rename it. Now, I know 158 people at rounds, plus small ceremony or presentation or whatever you want to call it. Internally, your team can decide what works best, but I think the guest totals is a great approach. Once you've done this, How to save it as a template. You simply click this star. That star not only saves you time in the future, but it's at the venue level, meaning that anyone on your team will be allowed to use this template inside the room named banquet hall. So you're not only saving yourself that time, as I said, you're saving everyone time. There is no limit currently on templates, so I have that why not mentality. Go ahead and star it if you think you'll use it again in the future. Also, if you need multiple versions for this event or client, you can clone the layout you're working in. This works great for room flips. You can also add a new layout here, whether it's from scratch or a previously saved template. And if you're using more than one room, meaning you're using the banquet hall plus another space on your floor plans account, you can click change room in this dropdown to jump into that particular room and that layout that you can begin designing in. So that all lives in this drop-down menu. The next thing I'm going to mention is sharing. So sharing and exporting here live on the left-hand side of the screen. When you want to export a PDF, you can simply click here, choose Export PDF. You can choose to include everything. You can set up default settings, so that's really helpful if you want the same information in all of your PDFs, or you can customize as you go. When I click on Customize, now this list probably looks familiar to you because it's the same list in your view preferences. But this list is what will actually translate into your PDF itself. So be sure to uncheck or check off the things that you definitely want to be able to see. Anything that you don't need, of course, just use those little check boxes. Once you're done here, you can simply click Export and that PDF will be sent to your user email. Now, if you want to invite collaborators for some of the venues that are a little more hands-off, or you just want the planner or the client involved, there is a Share Event button in the upper right-hand corner. When you click Share Event, this is how you will add in those users by their email address, their type, and their permission level. Once you hit Send, they will get an invitation and will be able to join this event. And the last button when it comes to sharing and exporting is actually a button at the top of the screen that says Save and Export. What this does is it will save and export the most up-to-date versions here of your layout or photos if you've gone into 3D, and it will allow that to export into the Tripleseat event that we created and came from in the beginning. So this is where I can hit Save and Export one more time, and it will send that information over, which now actually allows me to go back into Tripleseat. The top of the screen, I'm going to go back into that tab for Tripleseat where you're going to see I'm still inside this event and I can click the refresh button. When I click refresh, all of the floor plans that we built out, in this case one, will appear here inside the floor plans tab. What's really great is now you have the ability to go into things like your documents, BEOs, etc. You can click on them. You can find your setup field if you have one or put it in the appropriate space. I'm going to go into setup notes where you can use those merge fields by right clicking. When I right click, I'll go to event fields, floor plans by Tripleseat, and then I'll be able to pull in that image. So once I click into it, it's exactly what I wanted to see here in my documents, BEOs, etc. So I'll click update and now I have that information saved in my event. Once I go to that floor plans tab one more time, you'll be able to see those blueprints and images. If you happen to go into 3D, there will be, of course, 3D images that populate. We didn't do that today, but just note you will find those here as well. Now we've successfully created a layout. We've gotten it here inside Tripleseat, but I'm going to go back into floor plans here at the top of the screen for a little bit more information in this platform. You can always go back to your dashboard, which is your home page here within floor plans by clicking on dashboard in the upper left-hand corner. We're constantly saving your images in floor plans, so don't worry, you might see a little note that says that. Here, I land on the events dashboard, as I mentioned. There are two ways to view this screen in case you see it differently when you log in, which is list view or card view. So here in the upper right-hand corner, you can toggle between either view. I think list view is a little cleaner for our venue partners that are watching today, so that's just a recommendation. There's also a search bar, of course, and then 3 folders that live in this events tab at the top, which will be all events. So anyone on your team that creates an event, you'll be able to find in this folder. You'll see the owner name as well. My events will just be events you've created. And then you can also archive events if you and your team may no longer need to see them. So archiving is simple. You can click this box on the left-hand side, whether it's one or multiple, and an archived events button will populate. Once you archive it, you can always go back into that archive folder and fully delete it should you need to do that. This is also a great place for shortcuts. If you simply want to go straight to a layout, you can do so here by clicking Open Layout. You also have the ability for instant download. This will download it straight to your browser. If you don't need to make any edits or changes, feel free to click this arrow and export your event. You can include everything or customize this as you go. As a reminder, these will not be options unless you've gone into 3D mode to populate those screenshots. Once you click export, it will populate in your browser, as I mentioned, or in your downloads folder, and you can use it as needed. No need to wait for an email and no need to wait to load into the event for a PDF. And our last stop is going to be venue settings. If you didn't visit venue settings during onboarding, that's okay. You can come here now and update this information as needed. Inside venue settings, you're going to notice that this is where you'll find venue information card, room card, an inventory card, etc. From here, I like to mention if you are connected to multiple venues, you will see a little drop-down caret here. So just be sure you are working in the correct venue. I'm currently only linked to this one, so we're going to start here today where venue information that can be updated. You can go in and edit your logo, venue image, phone numbers, emails, etc. The room card is where you can go to edit. You'll see all of the rooms we have created for you, but you can edit their images as well as things like capacity levels. So this is an important one. But my main focus and the reason I do want to come into venue settings for today's training is inventory. When you click into the inventory card, this is going to allow you to add and manage your in-house items. On the left-hand side of the screen, there's a catalog of items, furniture, which would have, of course, subcategories. And there are over 90,000 items currently living in our catalog. So please take advantage of that. If you were to look for chairs that you own, for instance, you can come into that subcategory. We have a search bar at the top. We have some filters you can utilize as well. And then you can go in and click on the items you want to tag. So if you own this mahogany Shivari chair with a cushion on it, you'll simply click Add Venue Item. This will tag it as one of your in-house items, which will filter into this little view that you're seeing here. So anything that you own, we want you to tag. If you do not own it, don't worry. You can still utilize the catalog at any time. We really only want you to tag the items that you own. This will populate them automatically, so you can use them regularly. Also, for instance, if you tag this particular table, you can use the three dots here. When you click into it, it actually allows you to choose the exact rooms that you want to use this item in. Maybe you only use this in the bar and lounge or the lounge banquet hall. You can go in and check those boxes, and then when you go into the room named patio, this table will not be an option. So you can get pretty specific with where items do appear for you. Lastly, I will briefly mention as well, you can manage quantities by clicking on this at the top of the screen. When you do so, you can enter in the amount you own, which will then flag if you overbook, if you exceed that limit. So you're creating a floor plan that has 6 of these tables, and then you add 2 more. It's going to tell you, a little notification will appear and say you are over your quantity. So that comes in handy as well. All right, we're going to go back to the dashboard here. And the very last thing I'm going to mention is the Need Help button in the upper right-hand corner. Need Help is actually where you can go for our Help Center, which is a fully searchable knowledge base. Feel free to browse those articles and videos there, or you can reach out directly to a floor plan support agent. We do have designated support for floor plans itself, but you can use this email or, as mentioned before, the question help option inside Tripleseat. That way our agents are able to assist you and answer any questions you might have moving forward. Now I'm jumping back on camera just to say thanks for joining me today, and a quick reminder to get in and build some test events. Add those time-saving templates and tag your in-house inventory in your venue settings if you haven't already. As I mentioned at the start, a recording of today's call will be sent to the email address you entered when registering, and our team will stick around to answer any questions that you may have. If you have additional questions after today, please contact our team by clicking the Help Questions button from any page in Tripleseat. Thanks again.